Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, Gundam Reviews.net. In episode 33, the third generation is really moving along now and things are picking up steam, so let's get right to the action with the of the weeks. Starting with Mobile Suit, where I'll reiterate again just how cool it would be to get this whole team up done up properly for the third generation. But even though it's been the bad guy and the grunt suits that have been catching my eye lately, I thought this was a fantastic week for the AGE 3, starting with a scene early on where he's just blasting through enemies, floating on the air dome style, but basically when you use those 4 cannons, and even though he lost one, I thought it was a great showing for the AGE 3, and certainly reason to celebrate the fact that we're going to be getting not only the orbital in high grade, but also it's been announced that we should, as expected, be getting the Fortress, and relatively soon. But in a fantastic homage to First Gundam, is there any way that I could pass this up on Mobile Suit of the Week to have, yes, Zeheart in a red Zagok? And yeah, just go check out my icon if you don't know why I'd be crazy about that. For Character of the Week, a couple noticeable mentions had to go to the female characters. I'm talking about Captain Butts here, who was guided by Flit and actually had a few moments. Of course, people that were, you're used to good captains for the last 2 generations, and to have this one start off slow, and of course she's going to get better, especially with Flit around to get her there. But anyway, it was good to see her moments, and her relaxed face at the end when they won the battle was quite cute. But in the end, the girl who showed up to wonder what kind of man Zeheart is going to be is certainly going to be intriguing, and I hope that she gets out there, CDA style, in some sort of a new type mobile suit. And we did get a clue as to what kind of a man Zeheart is as he sits there and questions his boss, rather politely. However, he's still questioning him, and of course he just shut up when he was told to shut up, pretty much. But right up there for me, for Character of the Week, has to go to the old man, myth, the legend himself, helped very much by the Seiyu, but this is probably the most dialogue that Algreus has had. Now that he's the commander of the Earth Federation forces, it's always interesting to see him act with his former senpai in the form of Flit, and still taking charge, as we got to see a lot of plot develop there. But anyway, things are advancing, and he showed a lot of loyalty, but I've still got to wonder if things aren't going to go in a bad direction if he betrays them in the end. But ultimately for me, there was one character who really stood out amongst all the male characters. Sarek had a few moments like he always does, but it had to be Flit here, where we get to see an older, wiser, more mature one, and we got to see him both take care of Kyo in his hour of need, and at the same time still remind him of his responsibilities, and that this is war, because he knows the pain, and we got to see a few flashbacks to it. And we also got to see him take care of the captain, so you can see that this guy has really sort of grown into the things. And even though he does have that irrational hatred, well, perhaps perfectly rational hatred of the Vegans and his genocidal tendencies, it seems like he's just softened up a little bit and is showing some of the care for Kyo that he may not have been showing to Asum, especially early on in the main part of the second generation. First scene of the week, how about early on where the Vegans have even cooler looking massive mobile armors out there, including ones that are actually filled out and have more than T-Rex arms. But how about Fortress going directly underneath and unleashing one of his 4 cannons? And that looked pretty painful. I also thought it was cool when Kyo is showing more and more of his manifesting new type X-Rounder abilities, when he was able to punch the right brick and pull out a P-switch, and in this form it was the bomb, and then get it thrown up into sky just in time, a la what we saw at the end of the Avengers. But ultimately, there was never any doubt as to the scene of the week for me. It happened very early on in the episode, and it's an homage to the classic first fatality from First Gundam, where Char Zagok cuts through the gyms in the underwater lair. And here we got to see a green Adele bear the brunt of Zeheart's rather large claws before his mobile suit sort of lost its mojo. And we got to see him fall. Well, the 2 of them, I suppose, but it looked much better in the anime, you can imagine. And all of this adds up to this being probably my favorite episode of the third generation so far, between the mobile suits, the action, the drama, the suspense, and the politics, the EFF, the Earth Federation, their Machiavellian scheming and things going on like that. All sorts of good stuff, the introduction of new characters that are going to be quite intriguing from here on, the perhaps softening of Flit with that right balance between taking care of people and still prepping them for war, Zeheart questioning his orders, and I wonder what's going to be happening now that the AGE system is in the hands of the military. Something that I didn't know until somebody commented on my Marisai video is that Flit, I had no idea that his voice actor was the same as Jared, and it was cool that Shanna Lua, I didn't know that she was Turn A's Lauren either, Romy Park, so that was really cool. Overall, one thing I was disappointed with was the canned animation where you got to see the Adeles in their green. Even though they had cool shoulders on, they just sort of show up in the exact same way every time, and I think we saw that 3 or 4 times in the overall episode. The kind of thing you'd expect in Seed and Seed Destiny, not the kind of thing that you want to see here. Overall, I'm still going to be wondering that because the Vegans are going to be getting their own Gundams in the future, and now that Algreus seems to be wanting to get the AGE system up there in the hands of the military, if they're not connected. However, at the end of the day, we get to see the AGE 1 is going to be going off into space. The Fortress has had its day, and we're going to be moving on to the Orbital, I'd imagine, pretty soon. It'll be interesting to see if we do get some additional wares for the AGE 1 out there, and whether Flit's always going to be flying in support or whether he'll get back in action. You'd think they wouldn't put that in there, sort of a Chekhov's gun, unless he's going to end up using it. Zeheart's mobile suit, I loved it because it was amphibious and very cool looking. Kyo gave him a good fight, he losing limbs over time, but he sure looked cool as he was getting evac'd out of there in the end. But it's the kind of thing where if he is in a Gundam, especially one that's in his shape in classic Gundam colors, Zeheart is going to have quite a number of mobile suits, and hopefully they all get plasticized, because that is going to be a collection not quite worthy of Char, but certainly quite interesting compared to most recent antagonists, if he's going to end up with 5 mobile suits, and especially with some of them red, or at least with that common linking theme of those Adidas stripes and the things on the back there. However, that's just me, and I'd love to hear your opinion on the episode, and how did you think this stacked up compared to other Gen 3 shows or previous ones? Which characters are going to be going in which directions? Are you as intrigued as I am about the new ones? Anyway, everybody, would love to hear from you with a comment down below, and stay tuned next week. I can't wait, there's going to be more. There have been more high grades announced, not as many as I'd like. We'll probably get those rolled out, but if you take a look at the end of 00, anyway, things may be picking up for AGE, but there's still a lot of kits that we have to wait for. But anyway, once they all get plasticized, the news, you can always check it out here, and of course their reviews as well. Anyway, everybody, thanks as always for watching. We'll see you next time. You know, maybe by the end of this show, we're going to completely reverse roles, and I'm going to end up in a Gundam painted up in the right colors, and we'll go freedom and justice style with 3 generations of Kira there, and maybe you'll hop into something and be bad in the very last episode. Or, yeah, people are just going to be tired of me talking about you always turning bad. With Zeheart with even bigger claws there, very gold, very coming at the screen, and the kind of thing that you want to have recreated in diorama form. Blech.